Do many people believe in God here? Are they looking for something deeper than just cars, you know?
That's a cool conversation. Japanese culture is not religious, but deeply spiritual.
And sitting in the church, I just thought, isn't Japanese souls matter as well?
We saw salvations, we saw healings.
There's an urgency, and we all need to work together.
Praying for people, sharing testimony, gospel, handing out tracts and stuff.
We're not about getting people to just say the sinner's prayer. God has called us to come here so that we can actually lead people into a place of being pure in love with Christ.
Okay, Jeremy, so where are we headed to?
All right, we're going to Daikoku parking area, which is a unofficial car meet location. It's just known for having a lot of people with cool cars coming and hanging out, and a lot of people who want to see cool cars going to check them out.
I love cool cars.
Yeah.
So like, obviously the Tokyo Drift movie inspired a lot of people. Is that still the vibe, do you think, or?
I think it's really common, at least for people who want to go and see the cars. There's a lot of inspiration from Tokyo Drift. Sometimes we even see cars, certain models from the movies that are the exact same paint job as the movies. So there's definitely a lot of connection there.
So I saw some on the street when we were in Shibuya, and they were like offering rides, like you could pay to go in like a GTR or like a, something like that. Like, is that common or?
Yeah, there's a lot of tourism around cars. So there's a lot of renting and driving cars on the tour. And for those people who can't do that, maybe they don't have an international driver's license or whatever, they can do ride-alongs and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I saw it's pretty hard to get to. It's like you got to drive an hour out there. You can't get like a train or a bus or anything.
Yeah, there's no public transport, and you're also not allowed to bring or call a taxi there. Or you might be able to take one there, but you can't get one to come get you there.
Okay.
So you basically have to have a car. Is the only way.
So people
to get
take
out
it
there.
pretty seriously then, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, and you mentioned that they have like a police station there at the place.
Yes.
So does it get a bit out of control, or?
I want to say it can get a bit rowdy, but in Japan that's still pretty calm.
Pretty safe, yeah.
And it's everybody's driving, so it's not like people are drinking or partying there. It's just very social.
Okay, and what kind of cars would you normally see there?
We should be seeing a handful of really cool JDM cars, definitely some GTRs, maybe a couple of Nissan Silvias, maybe some NSXs, older cars.
And what are the people like? Because we want to go in there and share Jesus, but we want to do it in a way that's like not off-putting. So,
yeah,
what do you think?
It's very unique, I think, for a public place in Japan, because it's where people are already gearing up to be social. People are going there to have conversations about cars with the people who are bringing their cars because they want to show them off. And so in that sense, I do feel like there's a lot of open doors there.
Yep.
for natural conversation. And in that, I think there's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I'm sure people want to talk about their cars, and I'm ready to listen, and then maybe just like sharing a bit of Jesus with them at the end.
I think to have that conversation, and then to even just be able to offer to pray for somebody, and then from there to transition to why you're doing that. It's there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Let's get into it.
When it comes to reaching Japanese people, if you're introducing religion, they're not going to be interested in it. But if you're introducing His love, they will be interested in it.
Thank you, Lord.
More love.
Joy.
More love. The
Garment of praise.
Hi, I'm Brandon, and this is my wife, Samantha. And we're in Tokyo starting a church called RABU Church. RABU means love in Japanese. And
Born and raised Sydney, Australia. Moved to Japan when I was 21. Just caught on to purpose and calling of God on my life here, and love the Japanese people.
Our mission here is to restore pure love of Jesus. So I grew up in Hiroshima, and if you grew up in Japan, you would know that you never get a chance to hear about the gospel. My mom had me when she was 16. So my grandpa, which is her dad, forced her to have an abortion, and she actually ran away. So I grew up in a family like that, and my mom actually married this man, a Japanese man, and that's where I get my last name, Sato. But one day, because I didn't want to take the exam to get into high school, because in Japan you have to actually get an exam to get into high school, and I hated school, I hated study. So I was like, Mom, I need to go to America. So I went to America to stay with my uncle and aunt. And I was a punk. My uncle and my aunt just loved me like no other. And I couldn't believe it. It was so shocking because no one loved me the way they loved. And I had to ask, I was like, why do you guys love me the way you love me? Like, I'm bringing nothing but trouble to you guys, and you guys have nothing but mercy on me. And they said, Brandon, we weren't like this before, but we met the love of Jesus. That's why we love you the way we love you. So I remember going to church, and they took me to a church, and just seeing all this people, all these Christians just worshiping God, full of joy, laughing. And sitting in the church, I just thought to myself, I kind of got mad, and I was like, this isn't fair that all these people here gets to know about this amazing news, and none of the Japanese people gets to hear this. Isn't Japanese souls matter as well? And that's when God poked me and said, that's why I brought you here, so that you can bring this message back. So that's when I was marked, and I went back to Hiroshima when I was 16. I told all my friends, hey, God exists. He met me, and, I'm telling all my friends, and all my friends are like, what? There's God. Like, in Japan, you don't talk about God. No one talks about God. So all my friends are like, what? There's God? What? Mm-hmm. But I didn't know where to take people from there because, there was no church in the local area. I didn't even know how to lead myself from where I was. I just knew that God is love, and his name is Jesus. But where do I go from here? So from there, I actually just went back to wild life of partying and being a womanizer. And I got depressed and suicidal. And I actually was like, I don't know where to go from here. And I was like, I need to change something. So I got like $500 and moved to Tokyo, thinking that something could change. I told all my friends, I'm gonna be big, and I'm not gonna come back until I get famous and whatever. And went to Tokyo, and I was 19, and I did not know how to live by myself. I became homeless straight away. So I remember finding a right building and sneaking up in the building and going to the to the rooftop. And I would get my sleeping bag and I would just sleep there. And I stood up, and it was during night, and I can see all the city lights shining in Tokyo. And I just shouted, God, if you exist, save me. And soon after that, I met people that was like full of joy on the street at 2:00, just playing bands. And I'm like, me and my brother, we just went there and we're like, these guys are like full of smiles. They must be pothead. They might be smoking something. So if you don't know, Japan's very strict with drugs. And so you can't just go up to people and ask for drugs. You got to build trust. So me and my brother, we were like, we got to build trust with these guys, and whatever they invited us to go, we're going to go to build trust with them. And we kind of just heard it was going to be like a live. And, my English was terrible back then, so I had no idea. These guys weren't Japanese. So like, I'm just trying to pick up what they're saying. And I'm like, okay, it's a live house. Okay, sure. I can go to live house. And I went there only to realize that it was a church. And as soon as I realized it was a church, I was like, I'm going home. And my brother was like, no, let's go. And I was like, I just moved to Tokyo and all I knew was my brother in Tokyo. So I was like, all right, let's go. So I went into the church, and then it was actually my brother who received Jesus and decided to follow him. And he was transformed dramatically. And I didn't like that. I used to live with him, and we used to be like, we used to like, be a thug life. Like, we thought thug life is cool and being tough is cool. So, we didn't have any smiles on our face. And all of a sudden, my brother's coming home with a massive smile, just shouting, God is awesome. Life is awesome. And I'm like, stop it. What are you doing? You're crazy. I just knew that he changed so much. And after about 2 weeks of me just smashing him every single day, he grabbed my arm. He looked at me straight in my eyes and he says, brother, because I love you, I'm going to tell you, if you taste, you will see. And that was the moment where I kind of woke up and I was like, what am I doing? So he actually took me to church, and he showed me how to pray and like be part of the Bible study and start reading the Bible every day. And so I started doing all of these practices, and only to prove my brother that he is wrong. But because I really wanted to get him out of this, I was like, I have to take this seriously. And you know what happened? I was transformed the same way. We were transformed in the same way. I had to apologize to him because I was so transformed that I couldn't contain the love, the joy, the peace, the hope, the dream that was flowing out of me. We're skipping home from work in the rain, and we're just worshiping God in the city of Tokyo where everybody is walking and watching us, and we couldn't care less. My eyes were completely set free from myself to seeing the need of people. To all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my gosh, I received this for free. Everybody gets to have this as well. I need to tell everybody. So I start calling all my friends, my family. It started off with all the close ones first. I was like, dude, God exists. He changed my life. And I was so selfish. So now, like, being transformed to like needing to share everybody about this good news was amazing. And I became a leader straight away in the church and just helping people. From a punk, I became a pastor. From a homeless, I became a business owner. From a womanizer, I became a loyal husband. My identity was completely shifted from brokenness to love.
One big focus we had while being in Tokyo was reaching communities that are unreached. One of them being the Tokyo Drift underground car meet. And so one after the other, we got to pray with these people, share the gospel with them, hand out these Jesus mongers, and really, for the very first time, they're hearing the gospel. Hey everyone, so we're out here at the famous Daikoku parking, and as you can see, there's a lot more cars here now. We didn't get it on camera before, but we got to speak to two older guys. We got some really cool cars, some old school Mazdas, and just got to share a little bit of my testimony with them in Japanese, and actually hand them a gospel track as well. And one of the older guy, he said, oh, I really felt something like loving, when I got to share that message of Jesus. So that was a really cool way to start, but we're going to get into it now and see how we go. So I'm here with Albo at the Daikoku car meet, and you were just telling us so much, like you got a lot of wisdom about this. You made YouTube videos about it. Maybe give out your YouTube.
Albo, ALBO. I'm Albo, so just search me on YouTube. You'll probably find me.
What do you think is the main reason people get so involved with this kind of stuff?
I think the car culture is one of the ways that allows for the most freedom of expression for people who live here in Japan, especially when you're an adult. You tend to have a very, very regimented lifestyle. You go to work, you work at a big Japanese company, you have to wear a suit and tie, and you just have to adhere to all these subtle and sometimes very just strict rules. There's so many things that you need to consider, and it can get kind of exhausting, and you feel like you're just one cog in a machine. And so, within the car culture, like here at Daikoku, which is quite close to central Tokyo, after work, people hop in their cars, which are one of the things that they can actually use to express their individuality. You can see all these cars heavily modified. They change the wheels, they lower the suspension, they do all kinds of stuff. And it's not just to make the cars look cool, it's to create a physical manifestation of like their self-expression.
We see that a lot with like the color of lights, and they have like little animations on the windows and stuff like that. It's just something that you don't really see anywhere else in the world, right?
What you see around the world is folks who are inspired by the culture here, and they try to emulate it.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is like the culture that gets exported to overseas, like let's say the US or Australia, actually the folks here too find it really interesting, and so that culture gets reverse imported back to Japan.
Wow, I never
So
thought
it
of it.
creates this perpetual loop.
Because I grew up on Tokyo Drift,
Yeah.
and there's a video game called Maximum Tune Midnight, One Gun Midnight, that I was obsessed with for like decades. And so I grew up on all that in Australia.
Yep.
So you think there's like a nostalgic element to it as well?
Absolutely. What it is people are trying to make their inner child happy. They're trying to complete that loop. For me personally, what's most interesting about Japanese culture is how you see it reflected in all these different hobbies. Being really, really deliberate about whatever you do. So I used to be an English teacher 10 years ago, and I used to join the club activities. It's called Bukatsu. And we would do stuff like judo, kendo, and you just could see how dedicated people, these young kids, were to mastering a craft. And it's the same thing with the cars. They keep that same mindset all the way until they're adults. And nobody does things half-heartedly or half-assed.
Yeah.
It's all about doing it to the best of your ability, because if you don't, you are the weakest link in the community. So it's about not just showing up for yourself, but for everybody else.
So do you think there's like a shame or guilt element there as well? Like you kind of have to live up to a standard, or?
Yeah, the word is hazukashi.
Hazukashi.
So hazukashi means embarrassing or like shameful.
Okay.
So that is the feeling that Japanese people most want to avoid.
Okay.
They want to avoid that feeling of shame. So they'll do whatever they can to avoid that feeling of shame. And the most important thing to do is to do your best. And that word is gambaru.
I feel like there's a lot of weight to that though. Like it crushes people, you know what I mean?
I think from our perspective as foreigners, we feel like, oh wow, living in Japan as a Japanese person must be so tough.
Yeah.
But when you're born here, you live through that entire system. You're born and raised in a Japanese school system. It's just normal for you.
Yeah, I get you. And we were talking about the Japanese concept of ikigai. Is that right? Did you want to unpack that?
So that's an interesting concept. It means to find your life's purpose.
Purpose and like
Yes.
meaning and stuff.
Yes, to find your sense of, to try to find what it is outside of work that you want to devote your life to, or at least a large part of your life to. For car guys, the cars are their ikigai.
Yeah. Isn't it a strange concept? Because cars are like a man-made thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, is there a spiritual element to cars at all? To ikigai as a general?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. For example, within the Shinto religion, in general, the belief is like God or the God force, divinity permeates everything.
Yeah.
And so even inanimate objects actually are part of the fabric of
Right.
the spiritual world, in a sense.
Do you think it's enough for people? Because like, just an example for me, like I had lots of ikigai, I guess you could say, in my past, like work, like I was very like climbing the ladder. I had a tech startup. I had all of these things. I was making lots of money. I thought I had like meaning and purpose, but I didn't. And then I actually, just as an example for me, I found God. I found Jesus. I became a Christian. And then God became my meaning, my focus, my purpose. And all the other things like sort of just submitted to that, because I could see like they just weren't as like important, I guess, as like my relationship with the Creator. So like that's just my personal experience. But like, is having something like this, is it enough? Or like, do many people believe in God here? Are they looking for something deeper than just cars, you know?
That's a cool conversation, because you know, I'm Canadian, right?
Yeah.
I grew up in Canada. And of course also like born like Christian.
Yeah.
Like originally I was born in the Philippines. Long story.
Oh, really? Cool, man.
But you know, growing up here in Japan, for the past 15 years, you know, my kid and my wife are Japanese, right?
Yeah.
It's very interesting, because the longer you live here, the more you understand how Japanese culture is not religious, but deeply spiritual.
Yeah.
And it has a lot to do with like the history of the country, but also I think because of like the strong ties that people have with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so no matter, it might seem something as trite as just bringing your car to a parking lot and parking, right? But for a lot of people, it really is a spiritual thing.
Wow.
You know, it's a place where you can finally be yourself, especially in the hustle and bustle of Tokyo. Like you have to be like this cog in this machine.
Yeah.
This is where you can reconnect to like your higher self.
Yeah. So I'm just going to push on it a little bit more. Do you think that's enough for people? Like, not to put it down. I think this is like amazing. Like, I love this stuff. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
But it's like, are people still going to be searching for something deeper than that? Like on that spiritual level? Is this enough?
Well, what's really cool, like about cars is like, you can use them to not just go to parking lot, but a lot of us go touring to like the mountain ranges, Toge, where there are these shrines.
Yeah.
So it's almost as if, as a car guy, you have the opportunity to make these pilgrimages.
I see.
Spiritual areas, and that, of course, brings you closer and closer to your car.
Yeah. Right. Okay. What's your advice, I guess, to anyone in the world who's never seen anything like this before, like, and they want to come here, they want to check it out? Like, what do you have to say to them?
Search a little bit about important elements of Japanese culture. So when you come here, you can be respectful.
Yeah.
And you understand what is considered to be rude. For example, talking on the phone in a train.
Yeah.
Just things like that. So
my friends got kicked out of Family Mart for eating inside.
Yeah, which, back home is no big deal, but over here, it's a social faux pas.
Yep.
So
I told them, they just didn't listen to me.
Yeah, jackasses. But
oh, we're getting shut down?
We might be.
Does that happen often?
Usually only Friday, Saturday.
Okay.
Sometimes on the middle of the week as well.
It has been pretty full on tonight, though. Is this like a normal Thursday night or pretty busy?
Yeah, it's normal Thursday night. Okay. It's been pretty good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the interview.
Hey guys, my name is Victor Miguel Rivera, and this is my 4th time here in Japan. I've been part of global missions organizations such as YWAM and Light a Candle. My story with Japan actually begins in 2022. I believe that throughout that year, I was receiving many dreams about Japan. I'm literally a nobody, and I literally never thought of Japan. In Tokyo, I thought Tokyo's fine. There's probably a lot of churches here. There's probably a lot of Christians, maybe 50% Christian, something like that. I thought Tokyo was okay. But like I said, in 2022, God began to give me dreams about Japan. And I ended up joining YWAM. And with YWAM, we ended up in Japan for 5 weeks, totally unplanned. But God brought me here. And it's just who he picks and chooses. So if there's people watching out there who have this like strange call towards Japan, I believe it could be the Lord calling you here. Some of the things here in Japan that we were told was that it was a missionary graveyard, that not a lot of fruit comes from sharing the gospel. Definitely not cold evangelism, talking to people on the streets. I even knew a missionary who spent about 30 years here in Japan and not a lot of fruit to show for it. But when we came in 2023 for the first time, I was with YWAM. We saw salvations, we saw healings, we saw God encounter people. There was a real grace on our team, and God just wanting to move and just talk to his people, how he loves Japan, the Japanese people. We're able to prophesy over people and share words and all of that, but to share the gospel, the actual full gospel with people, and for Japanese people to be completely open to it. Japan sits on the 1040 window, and it is the top 1 or 2 most unreached nation in the world, far less than 1% Christian, and yet it's completely open to the gospel. There's no laws against evangelism here, so God really wants to move here. And some of the difficulties actually of being here is a language barrier. So if anyone feels led from God to come here to do missions, there's a massive language barrier. I would say invest time in learning the language here. There's been plenty of times where I feel like I'm connecting with someone here on the streets, just talking about things and trying to actually share the gospel fully, but that language barrier being there, I've always needed a translator with me.
私は日本と日本の皆さんの心から愛しています。 今日は大切な希望のメッセージを伝えたいです。昔、私はとても貧しく心が病んでいました。お金や成功を追いかけ、アマゾンで働いてたくさん稼げましたが、心は空っぽでした。ドラッグや酒に依存し、絶望していました。ある日、神様、もし本当にいるなら、私を救ってくださいと叫びました。その時、イエス・キリストが私を救ってくださいました。イエスは私の心を癒し、人生を変えました。今は私は平安と喜びの中で生きています。聖書にはこう書かれています。神は実にその一人子をお与えになったほどにを愛された。それは御子を信じる者が一人として滅びることなく永遠の命を持つためである。イエス・キリストはあなたを愛しています。ありがとうございました。
In the kingdom, the greatest among the kingdom is the one who serves. And I believe one of the reasons why Japan is called a graveyard of missions is because there's a lot of people outside of Japan came to bring their culture, trying to get Japanese people to fit into their religion, to trying to get them to fit in to their cookie cutter ways. And I don't believe that's serving them, because I believe serving them is actually, just like Jesus said, do what you want others to do for you. And that doesn't mean, if I like cookie, everybody likes cookie, right? That actually means that people wants to be understood. People wants to be valued, right? So I believe if you come to Japan to minister to Japanese people without trying to understand them, without valuing them, you're going to fail. But if you come in a place of humility and you're coming to serve his love, they're going to hear it and it's going to transform them. We're experiencing that. We just came to Japan and we haven't even launched our church, and we just started our gathering, and yet it already maxed out and it's actually overflowing our venue. We can only fit about 50 people. Even though a lot of missionaries says Japan is impossible, that's not what we're experiencing here. We need to be changing that narrative, because Jesus, when he showed up to funeral, it turned into party. He was the one that resurrected death to life. So if this nation has been called graveyard of missions for centuries, how much more do we Christians need to come here and change that narrative and bring life and resurrect people from death?
I had a dream that, it was like end of days, and we were in a hurry, we were in a rush, and we were holding this big wheel, like this big piece, and it was like this missing piece is what we felt, what I felt in the dream. And we were taking it to this destination because this destination had the rest of the piece, and we were holding on to the missing piece that needed to be joined together with this other piece so that the world could be saved, basically. And we were running towards this destination, and there was a car of people, leaders from another church, leaders that we knew, and they were asking us like, "Oh, you've got the missing piece. Let's go together," kind of thing. And so we joined forces in unity, and we went to that final destination. And that was given like 7 years ago, right? 7 years ago. And we've never forgotten about that dream. And we really felt like everything's coming back together now, is that, there's a missing piece. And not to say that, oh, we're so great, we've got the missing piece for you, we've got the solution, we've got the answer. Not like that at all. But really, like, there's an urgency, and we all need to work together. We need to learn from each other. There needs to be unity in the church. From this year moving to Japan, we really felt like that missing piece was pure love. So there's another part of that dream where, like, one of the leaders from the other church came to me and said, "Hey, I want to get your advice on something. Like, how are you getting all these foreigners?" And at that time, that didn't make sense to us, because they were like, well, what has that got to do with,
Our heart is for Japanese.
Yeah, for Japanese people. We're foreigners, but like, we have a heart for Japanese people. Like, what has that got to do with it? So it kind of just like shelved that part of the dream for a long time. And then just realizing, really like starting this year, being here, that actually meant, building kingdom allies and being the bridge for what is happening in Japan to the outside world, and letting people have a real look at what is happening, that Japan is so open, that it is not, a graveyard of missions. It's ready for harvest.
車乗ってて楽しいっていうのが自分の中で結構あって、そうあとはまあやっぱワイルドスピードとかその影響で車好きってなったのもあったんだけど、やっぱ実際乗って走らせるとやっぱめちゃめちゃ楽しいなと。なんか嫌なことあったりとかしてもこの車で忘れられるし。
こう日本の文化っていろんなところに行ってもすごい自分の問題から逃げるために何かがあるっていうのがあるけど、やっぱりこれは日本の考え方だとなんか普通の通常のデイリーライフだとやっぱり嫌なこととかあんま良くないことがいっぱいあるから、そういうところが必要だと思いますか？
そうですね。それはもう自分こそ特に嫌なことあったらとりあえず車使うんで、まあやっぱストレス発散になるんで、やっぱそれは大事なのかなって。その車だけじゃなくても、
そうね、
服買ったりとか、もう自分の趣味に没頭して嫌なことを忘れるとか。
でやっぱり何かこう物とか、車を走るとか洋服を買うっていうの中で本当の喜びっていうのがそこにあると思いますか？
ありますね。
ある。
もうこの車乗ってて、興奮しないことはないですね。
なるほどね。本当に感情的なここがあるっていう。
本当に楽しいです。
個人的に彼はその、いろんな嫌なことを抜け出すのにこういうところがあったけど、最終的には逃げられない状況になって、そこで神様と出会う経験をしたらしいんですけど、日本人はそういうこう神とかもっとこう深いところによっての自由っていうのを求めてる人がいると思いますか？
いるんじゃないですか。少なからずはいると思います。
自分は
どうだろう。
仏教ですか？
仏教です。
それは家庭が仏教だから仏教
だと思います。
だと思います。
わかんないです。
個人的になんかあんま抵抗してないというか自然だった。
そうですね。そうだと思います。
で、ダニエルさんはそのイエス・キリストっていう作り主の関係が本当の神様との間に立つ人物として存在してくれるから、そこに本当の自分の生きてる意味ができた時に本当のその罪悪感とか闇とかがなくなったって、個人的なストーリーをすごい持ってる。そういうのはどう思いますか？
あんまり自分は気にしたことないですね。なんかもう普通にのんびりゆっくり生きてるだけなんで。
OK。最後に一言、彼もお母さんが仏教だった、長い間仏教だったで、神社とかお寺に行ってすごい平安をいつも探してたけど、それがやっぱりそういうところに行っても人生の重さを感じるばっかりで、彼は浩平さんに知ってもらいたい。最後にイエス・キリストはあなたも愛してますだって。はい。
聖書にはこう書かれています。神は実にその一人子をお与えになったほどによう愛された。それは御子を信じる者が一人として滅びることなく永遠の命を持つためである。イエス・キリストはあなたを愛しています。
日本語上手です。
難しいですね。But I just want to let him know, like, God loves him, and I know he's searching for peace. And man, You're a really cool guy, eh?
あー
Thank you so much.
これとてもクールだからでも伝えたい平安を探してるんだったら神様があなたを愛しています
And I love the car. Thank you for
で
sharing with
かっ
us.
こいいですありがとうござい
Yeah,
ます
sugoi. Arigatou gozaimashita. Oh, can I give you this? Is that okay?
プレゼントがある
おいいんですか
Yeah.
ありがとうございます
Arigatou gozaimashita.
漫画なんだ
ありがとうございます
ありがとう
Thank you so much
ありがとう。
後ほどです
Another challenge is to try to tell people that Jesus Christ is the only way, because with the spiritual background of Buddhist and Shinto and kind of like shamanistic religions here, they believe they can add Jesus to like a pantheon of many different gods. I've noticed it's been one barrier where people can say, I'm a Buddhist, but I add Jesus into that, like the different aspects of spiritualism here. Same with Shinto. That's been another challenge as well, to try to get people to understand exactly what the gospel is and how Jesus is the only way, the truth, and the life here. Another one, just talking logistically, is the planning, the money that takes. Tokyo is the biggest city in the world. There's millions of people here. And I'm American. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles. So the dollar and the yen is kind of like, it's all right for right now, but it's still expensive. I actually would classify the cost of living here in Japan pretty much equal to Los Angeles. So if anybody's there from Los Angeles, one of the most expensive cities in America, it's pretty expensive to be here. Housing is so little. Like, if I could just keep it honest, like a lot of the stuff designed here is really small. There's cultural barriers as well of manners and how to not stand out. The Japanese proverb, I'm sure a lot of people have heard around the world, is the nail that sticks out gets the hammer. So try not to draw attention to yourself, even though you can't because you're a foreigner. With a lot of depression and suicide rates, a lot of loneliness that goes around, it can really get to you. It being the biggest city in the world and millions of people, still, the atmosphere is so lonely. And because of toxic work culture, a lot of Japanese don't actually have friends. And definitely opening up about your emotions or what you're going through is a kind of a cultural taboo. It's really not talked about. It's really not seen around here. However, at the same time, I will say that since visiting here for the first time in 2023, there's also a spiritual shift that's been happening. I feel like people are more open to hearing from the gospel right now.
500 years ago in 1500s, gospel actually came to Japan and it spread like wildfire. Most Japanese people start becoming a follower of Jesus. But Satan knew that. He saw that. And he used the shogun Tokugawa and he slayed all the Japanese Christians from Japan. And since then, they closed the country. And for 500 years, it's been silenced. And we believe that's because Japan is actually sacred. It's been set apart by God. Because it says in Isaiah 59:19, the fear of the Lord will come from the west, but the glory of God will rise from a land of a rising sun. And we believe that prophecy is going to be fulfilled in our generation, where revival is going to come to Japan, where people will come not to a religion, but will be in pure love with Jesus. Japan is the most unreached nation in the world when it comes to a country that has a freedom to share the gospel. Yet, there's only less than 1% Christianity. And if we have the love of God, I think this will break all of our hearts. Because there is a freedom. And yet, people don't know him. If you meet them, you will know how cute and naive and pure these Japanese people are, how respectful they are. Yet, they're really dead inside. They have no hope. And I want to encourage everybody to have that heart for the lost like Jesus has towards these people. Because there is a freedom and we do not know how long this freedom is going to go for. So we believe this is the time. So, like I said, the problem is not people. People are coming. People are hungry. People are getting saved. People are getting healed. space and funding is the only challenge here. So if you're watching this and if you have a heart for the lost, and if you feel called, yeah, I would like to invite you to be a kingdom allies and to reach this precious souls of Japanese together.
I asked him if like his stress relief life or his escape is the car, and he's saying yes.
Yeah. So that was the same for me. I used to have a Mazda 3, which is Excella, and I used to drive and drift on the mountains. We have a mountain in Australia which is like a Japanese style drifting mountain, and that was my escape. It was a lot of fun.
で私もそのマツダの、エクセラっていう車を持ってて、僕もその山に行ってドリフトをするのが本当に息抜きだった経験がありますと。
そうですね。But then sometimes it felt very dangerous and I felt lucky to still be alive.
でもその中でそれがすごい危なくて生きててラッキーだなっていう時もあるそうです。
ありますね、それは。はい。そういう経験して、そういう危ないとこしなくなって、今はこの車買ってからのんびり走る。
So he said he has some experiences like that and he had to learn from that, and now he drives much more relaxed in this car.
Yeah. I just say, like, I'm a Christian. I believe in God, so I believe if God saved me, because I definitely should have crashed and died. But it's okay, because when I got older, I got more responsible driving.
彼は神様イエス・キリストを信じてて、多分死んだはずなんだけど絶対神様が助けてくれたなっていう経験があったそうです。なんかそれくらい死んでもおかしくなかったなみたいな時ってありますか？
自分はないですね。でも後ろ車死んじゃうかなと思ったことはありましたね。
なるほど。
そういう経験があってやめたこともあります。
So I asked him if he'd had any stories from himself, like almost dying. But he says, not for myself, but I saw somebody behind me that probably should have died.
Oh, wow.
And didn't, and that's one of the things that helped me to walk away from that.
If he ever feels like he's in trouble, and he needs help, like call out to Jesus and he'll save him if he's in a dangerous situation.
じゃあ彼が伝えたいそのメッセージっていうのは、何かその人生で平安が足りてないとか、その助けを求めなきゃいけない時があったら、イエス・キリストっていうのは本当に愛をしてくださってる、個人的に知りたい、みんなを作ってくれた神様だっていうことらしいです。
Lord, I just pray that you show him that you love him and reveal yourself to him.
はい、主よ根本さんを本当に感謝します。そしてあなたが愛してるっていうことを、明らかにしてください。
I pray that you keep him safe and you bless his home.
はい、彼の家庭を祝福します。
And I pray that you bring him a loving wife who cares about him.
はい、そして彼を、心の底から、愛してくれる奥様を彼の人生に引き入れてください。
Please keep him safe on the roads, Lord.
はい、運転しながらも安全を守ってください。
Jesus' name, amen.
キリストの皆によってお祈りします。アーメン。
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
So my experience with the churches here in Japan are like in two categories. And I would say the first one is like faithful workers that have been pastoring for decades and decades and decades. Even like a third generation, like continuing to work in pastoring, but not seeing a lot of numbers get added to the ministry. It's not about numbers, it's about discipleship, but not really seeing a lot of growth, but faithfully being called and planted where God has them planted and continuing to do the work as best as they can. And I have seen another category as well where explosion has taken place and where they're running out of room. Several churches actually that I know of are running out of room because people just keep flooding in. Of course, a large number can be internationals coming in to visit or finding a church while they're visiting Tokyo or visiting Japan. But other churches are experiencing just so much of a growth and people just flooding in. But I would say that God is definitely doing a work here. There's a movement. I think it's historic right now with how many people, Japanese people, are actually being saved, found on the streets, saved, plugged into a church, discipled, and then actually bearing fruit from that and getting other people saved and discipled and being part of church plants or ministries and things like that. So this is what I've been seeing. I will say that a lot of churches in Japan seem to be guarded. kind of leery of outsiders coming in. So I believe maybe there could be a thought that Christians coming to Japan is kind of like sightseeing or tourism mixed in with like Christianity. So you're kind of just going by yourself and going rogue and not having a host church. And a lot of damage can come from that. And I will say that because there is a history of Christian cults in Japan. So already it seems like you have to guard yourself on what people are actually teaching, what they actually believe. So I have noticed that churches here are guarded up, and it's a very highly relational culture, even among the churches here, where they have to see you in person. You have to show up in person and have relationship with the churches here. It's not like an automatic open door to whoever wants to come in, which I believe there is like, it's healthy in a certain way, but in another way, it's also very highly relational, where you have to meet people face to face before partnerships can actually happen between ministries. So yeah, we're just walking around and then we ran into this cult here, and it was giving out literature. They're passing out literature. It says, a call to the Japanese government to eradicate abduction cases. We appeal the eradicate religious kidnapping and forced conversion against believers of the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification. So I believe this is the cult that preaches that there's a mother God, like Father God and Mother God. And it's actually actual people that live. The man now, he's passed away, but the woman still lives on. They call her Mother God. But I believe this is because it's a cult, so people leave their families and they get with these cult, and they have housing and everything. So families get so worried about this cult that they go and they try to basically kidnap their own children, their own brothers and sisters, their own fathers and mothers. They try to bring them back and try to, kind of unbrainwash them from this cult. And they're trying to say, let's make that illegal, which is pretty insane to me. I've never seen that before.
One thing that surprised me, resources are limited, space is limited, finances are limited, workers are limited, and they seem to be doing so much with so little. When I came back to Australia, I almost felt put to shame of how much we have here, how much faith, how much resources we have here, and how little we do with it compared to how little they have and what they're able to achieve. The average age of a pastor is between 70 and 80, and so we see all of these problems in the church. There's this revival happening on the street, but in the church, they don't have the facilities to facilitate revival. And so I kept hearing the same message. We need more churches in Japan. Okay, so we just finished up at Daigoku car meet, and wow, what an incredible night. I was a bit like, I'm not even sure how many people we'll be able to speak to about Jesus or anything, but I felt like we were just in one conversation after another, praying for people, sharing testimony, gospel, handing out tracts and stuff. And then that last guy was like real beautiful. But what do you guys reckon?
I think God highlighted he gave us opportunities, and like I love that, like you said, what about that guy in the blue jacket? And it turns out like you could see him being touched too, like, so God is good. Like,
yeah, it was funny because like we're about to leave, but we both felt like God had one more. It's like when he has that one more, you always got to wait around. And then we went and spoke to him. He added like the perfect section to the documentary. And then he said he was raised like Catholic, so that gave us the opportunity to actually pray for him. And he was like in tears almost, watery eyes kind of thing. So
I loved it. I think it was so nice to kind of dive into a bit of the Japanese culture here, like relate that to people's passions, why they come out and do what they do. Like for a lot of people here, like what that guy said, this is like their purpose. And it was nice to be able to like listen and hear what that is in their life, and then us to be able to then share back like what our purpose is in life and what we found through God and Jesus. So yeah, it was really special. Just such a beautiful night, getting to know more of the people here in this country, and yeah, some pretty awesome cars as well.
We're not about getting people to say the sinner's prayer. We believe that God has called us to come here so that we can actually lead people into a place of being pure in love with Christ. We have a website that I'm sure is going to be on description. We would love to have you praying for us to share this love in a bold way, even with teens that can come for long term to reach these precious souls. And yeah, if you can partner with us financially, that would be great. That would be our biggest need right now, because we're packed and we need more funding to move into a new place and to keep running. Daddy God, we pray for Japan. You love Japanese people so much. People 500 years ago has given their life for you. There was even 13 years old who refused to step on the picture of Jesus because of their dedication to Jesus and was nailed to the cross. We thank you for all the ancestors who sow into this nation.
Yeah.
And it's time for your dream to be fulfilled on this nation, because you love this Japanese people so much that you have given your only son for them. I pray for awakening. I pray for all the resources and teams and churches to awaken into a pure love, getting away from religion and serving people, this pure love of yours that Japanese people are hungry for. Let your dream come true, Lord, in our generation. Bring us together in one unity in you, one mind, one spirit, one heart.
Yeah.
And loving each other the way you're loving us, and to love and reach the people of Japanese in the name of Jesus. Amen.
To support RABU Church, go to www.rabu.church. And if you're called to finance our new church plant in Japan, email deliverancedownunder@gmail.com. Subscribe for part 3. And special thanks to RABU Church and Victor Miguel Rivera.